being broke and feeling broke are two different things, right? One is the truth and one is just an emotion backed up with no logic and no evidence. So let's go through that first. Hi guys, welcome to Tattoo Rambles, where I get to ramble about anything I want, but it's typically things that you guys see in the media. And today we're going to be talking about the Anna Paul situation and how glorification of influencers is definitely ruining our society and also in general our moral compass. First, I want to preface this video by saying I'm going to be speaking very forwardly about the Pauls. I typically try to express my opinions in a lighthearted manner and try not to come off too strong when I speak about certain subjects on this channel, but I just don't have any respect for the Pauls. Anna Paul is an accomplice to domestic violence, and now people are talking about her brother being a rapist as well, so I just don't have any respect for this family, and honestly neither should you. So if I'm speaking very straightforward in this video, that is why. And then I also want to preface that I'm not going to be exploring every single detail of Michaela Testa's podcasts. I think that they're great podcasts, and if you want to hear, I definitely think that you should go and watch those podcasts from her channel specifically. My goal is not to cram a 4-hour video into a 10-minute video for you guys. I am getting some details that she gave to us, and I'm going to be using those to make my point of why glorification of influencers is ruining our society. But once again, definitely go check out Michaela's podcast. Michaela, if you're watching this, I genuinely hope that you're doing well and that you're able to heal from this experience, and I give you my condolences and my respect for your bravery. As always, I am not the news, so if I get something wrong, please 100% correct me, but I always try to get things 100% factual. Now, let's get into it. So Anna Paul, the best way to describe her, one of Australia's biggest influencers, and she's typically known for her positivity through her lifestyle and with her body. Before this whole fiasco, before she really blew up, which is probably during COVID is when I discovered her, and she would kind of do 1-minute vlogs on TikTok. She would basically just be living her life and saying how you should live your life and embrace everything that you have, and she's extremely positive. I also enjoyed her content for her body positivity. She was always very forward about what surgery she got done on her body and her face, and I always thought that was really cool, since a lot of influencers and celebrities these days, they aren't very honest about what work they've gotten done on their body.
I'm going back to natural today because this is what I look like naturally. Oh, that's not it. That's me at 19. That's me at 20. Okay. This is me naturally. My lips, natural, and my hair color, natural, right? My hair's naturally a light brown and my lips are tiny. So I'm getting my lip filler removed and I'm going to get the color out of my hair.
I thought that was pretty cool and something that I could see admirable for other people. I think a reason why people really loved Anna Paul's content is because she had an innocence that not a lot of influencers really had. She spoke really fast, almost just an innocent childlike kind of speech, and she was always encouraging people to enjoy the small things in life or to take risk and do whatever it is that you need to do in order to feel better about yourself, even if it's just like a self-care day. And she was always encouraging her viewers to try new foods and new things, and she was very outgoing. Her willingness to explore and go with the flow of the day was very intriguing, something that I even found myself to be intrigued about. That's a bit of background. She also launched her own skincare, and that was pretty big for the Australians and just for her brand in general. So what is the problem with Anna Paul today? Why is she being canceled? Why she's being canceled is put into a 2-part podcast on Michaela's channel, as we've spoken about, but I will tell you some of the major things that people have been speaking about as to why she's been canceled. So Anna Paul, once again, mainly she was always body positive, especially when she would talk about struggles with eating and with not feeling good about her body. People admired this about her raw honesty and her ability to express how a lot of days could be hard with the way you view your body. So she was called out a couple months ago, I think in the beginning of this year, for how this whole body positivity act was essentially moot. She was called out for having a meet and greet, and upon that meet and greet, a fan went up to hug her, and after the fan, I guess, left the vicinity, or after the meet and greet, Anna Paul was complaining about how fat and sweaty this fan was.
When you were peak body positivity, love yourself version of Anna, a plus size fan came up to you and asked for a hug and a picture. You smiled at her. You told her that you loved her. She told you how your words online have helped her be more comfortable in her body. The moment she walked away, you told Addis that she was annoying and gross and you didn't want to agree to the hug because she was fat and sweaty. Addis laughed. These were your words, Anna. I heard them. Things like this were a common occurrence.
So, of course, everybody was like, wow, she's known to be this positive girl. Such words being uttered from her mouth is completely insane. For the first time in forever, Anna Paul finally addressed these allegations about herself and made an entire video, which I honestly think just made her look worse. I'm not sure where her PR team was for this.
So the first thing I want to address is that apparently in 2021, a fan came up to me and we hugged. And after she walked away, I said, oh my God, she was so fat and sweaty. Now, I do not call my fans fat. That is not who I am. That is not what I stand for. That's not what I've ever stood for. But you guys know me, surely. That is not what I stand for. Sweaty, however, I may have called her sweaty because when somebody is wet and they touch you and then they leave, and when you're with your best friend and you are now wet because of them, you may say, I am now wet. Again, this was 4 years ago, but that may have happened. And I also know that people would have hugged me, walked away, and said Anna Paul was sweaty. That does not make them a bad person. That's just them pointing out that after two people touch, they are now sweaty or wet.
Noticing how she says, you guys know me, she can never do that, essentially. Michaela and her new podcast puts receipts of Anna Paul fat shaming people on multiple occasions. We can read them here. Very interesting. She's even fat shaming her own boyfriend's father. It's quite literally insane. That was one of the reasons why she's under fire right now for being disingenuous about her body positivity. Another big reason why she's being canceled right now is because, once again, her being disingenuous. She had this whole idea within her career that she pretty much grew up poor, kind of like a rags to riches story. So she would kind of bring this up here and there, how she grew up poor, and how she finally made the life for herself and for her family, how she's able to give them back all the things that she can have when she was younger, etc., right? People have finally found a bunch of proof, and Michaela went through the proof of Anna, in fact, not growing up poor.
Tommy Hilfiger, more Ralph, iPhone, Ralph, YSL, a watch, and this is all 2013, 2014, and 2015. You've got Coach bags. You've got Victoria's Secret Pink, more Ralph Lauren, more Ralph. The view from your house, your waterfront house that you're literally sitting in, is so fucking beautiful, in your words. You're taking photos in the same house, the waterfront house, that you were in when I just showed you as an infant child, and it's 2014. So you've remained to live in this waterfront house from whatever ages. I'm guessing like ages 6 to, from what I can see here, 2014 currently. So obviously the rent was being paid. Your father was paying that fucking rent, and you were living in this nice island waterfront house this entire time. Again, your first car is a BMW. You've got a fresh set of nails on. You just got your P's. Like, if your first car is a BMW, Anna, you're not broke. You're not broke. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You're always at a cafe with your mother. You're talking about starving. You've always got a fucking iced latte. You've always got a Tiffany & Co. bag in your hand, watches and Pandora up to the freaking thing. You've got all this makeup, like Too Faced, NARS, Makeup Forever.
This was her response to when those allegations were first made.
I do not lie about the fact that I grew up broke. When I say I grew up broke, that is my experience. That is how I felt. When I can hear my parents talking in the kitchen that the budget for the groceries that week is $30, it makes me feel broke. When we can't afford school uniforms, it makes me feel broke. When I'm 11, when I'm 10, and all my friends can afford something and my parents can't, it makes me feel broke. When they say, oh, I don't know how we're going to afford rent next week, that makes me scared and makes me feel broke. That does not mean that I was the most broke person on earth. There are definitely people in way worse situations than me, but that does not mean that I'm lying about the fact that I felt broke during those times.
Right, so we can all agree that being broke and feeling broke are two different things, right? One is the truth and one is just an emotion backed up with no logic and no evidence. So let's go through that first. Feeling broke when your first car was a BMW, feeling broke when you could afford a bunch of different expensive materialistic things, I'm not really sure. So yeah, I think it's pretty embarrassing because she clearly did not grow up poor, and it's unreasonable as to why she would feel as though she was poor having all these things. So either she's just lying and she knows that she didn't grow up broke, or she is just so out of touch that maybe she thinks that she really did grow up poor. I don't know.
And if you could be another content creator for 24 hours, who would it be?
Someone who's super, super, super rich. Nah, like super, super, super rich. I'd get on a jet, I'd get on a yacht, I'd get on a helicopter.
Don't you do that though? Kind of, yeah. But I guess so.
And then we're about to get into kind of some dark topics. I'm going to try to keep it as lighthearted as possible. Once again, if you want the full story, please go to Michaela's channel. I'm giving a brief summary, essentially. Her brother, TATI'S they've always been alleged to have just a weird relationship. One thing that Michaela mentioned is that her and Anna did OF. And literally TATI'S would be the one filming their videos for this platform. And at the time, TATI'S was also dating Michaela. So he was basically filming his sister and his girlfriend's explicit content for this platform, which is very weird. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Can you imagine your sibling asking you to help film content for your explicit selfie page? Majority of you would probably be disgusted and confused. I don't think majority of the people in the world would even think to ask their sibling that. But anyway, that's just one of the examples of how weird their relationship dynamic is. They also had this video of her explaining how they used to get allegations of them sleeping together.
My brother is my soulmate, and we are so close that in high school there was a rumor going around that apparently we sleep together.
Very disturbing to me. Very weird. But anyway, moving forward, so we've already gathered that her and her brother have a weird relationship. Now we're going to talk a bit more about TATI'S and the type of boyfriend he was. So Michaela took sleeping pills, and while she was sleeping through these nights, she has said that TATI'S would essentially touch her very inappropriately, is a light way to put it, while she was asleep. And so one night she didn't take her sleeping pills to see if that was what he was actually doing, you know, to confirm her suspicions and just everything. And that is exactly what he did. And she knew that he had been doing this for a while because she was getting STDs when they hadn't really been, you know, doing anything, or she would wake up with bleeding and other things. So basically he was causing her to suffer for weeks. So yeah, he essayed her. He was also very violent. When Michaela would try to leave him or imply that she wanted to end the relationship, he would basically just go insane.
I said, TATI'S has just abused me and his blood is all over the walls. He stole my phone and laptop. Bailey said, wait, what? What do I do? What's the address? I said, I just found my phone. He doesn't know. So this was when I was in the other room using my phone. She said, should I call cops? I said, I'm going to get an Uber out of here. She said, should I tell his sister he abused you? She said, please do. I'm scared. I'll call cops if I don't hear from you for a while. Why is his blood everywhere? Mick, get a taxi if you have to. What's going on? Do I call the cops? I'm going to message Anna. I said, he took my phone again. He's crazy, because that's when he took it again. And then I had gotten it back because I wasn't responding to her for a while. She was freaking out. She was texting Anna. Anna was not replying to anyone, of course, because she was too busy dealing with the situation at hand. She said, fuck, I thought he might have. I'm so scared. I messaged Anna. I'm freaking out. I said, absolutely psycho. She said, I feel sick. I said, unsend the message. I'm not going to talk to either of them. I unsent it. Where are you now? Did you get your phone back? I said, I'm in the bedroom. She said, if Anna is trying to justify whatever he has done, it's unjustifiable. I said, blood all over walls. She said, from him, how? I said, Anna is very manipulating, because she was manipulating me to stay, to try and talk, to try and come to a resolution and fix this issue. And as I said, her demeanor was blasé. She had seen something like this before. And yeah, he did shit like this to his ex. So, but I didn't know at the time. But I knew something was up.
Very disturbing, very disgusting. And you would think Anna Paul, his sister, and Michaela being her best friend, would probably, you know, call her brother out and say he's being a little crazy and report him to the police. But no, she would actively try and essentially manipulate Michaela into staying, saying that, oh, you're the only one who can calm TATI'S down and you're basically his peace, and all that other just lies that don't really matter. And she would just essentially try to get Michaela to stay with him. So Anna Paul is a accomplice to domestic violence and an enabler. So that's where we're at. So now I want to speak to people on social media and her fans who consumed her content and who really, really adored her. This is not for Michaela. This is not for anyone involved in the situation. This is simply for you and me, you being the viewer, okay? Here's why it is so dangerous to glorify influencers, right? The simple answer is because you have a parasocial relationship with them. You don't know these people behind the screen. The whole point of social media is to, yes, express your thoughts and opinions and your emotions, but to also, you're able to create a life that you might not even live in a small portion of time. So you could literally live a harsh life, but when you get on camera, you could be a completely different and happy person. It is very easy to trick people into thinking you're something you're not on the internet. If you honestly think that your favorite celebrity is exactly how they are 100% of the time on camera, I think that is kind of naive. You know, no one is who they are on camera. The thing is, you're also only seeing whatever they want you to see. So if they only want you to see a 20-second video, that's 20 seconds out of the 24 hours of their day. You have a parasocial relationship with these people. You're putting your faith into people you don't know, who only show you specific parts of their lives. When you idolize certain influencers, you're creating unrealistic expectations for yourself. There's a lot of influencers and celebrities that I look up to in a sense. And when I say look up, I don't mean, oh my gosh, she's so morally inclined, I want to be just like her, and if she did anything bad, it would literally rock my world. When I say look up, I mean they have a couple attributes that I really admire and that I kind of would like to work on for more of myself. That is what I mean by look up. I don't idolize. Idolizing and looking up to someone is completely different. I don't think in your life you should ever idolize anyone, even if it's your own family, because when you idolize someone, you're creating the space for them to disappoint you and for you to create unrealistic expectations about them. What Anna Paula is doing is extremely performative. She is pretending like she cares about body positivity when she's turning around calling her own fans fat. You're not even idolizing someone who's being authentic. People can say they're being authentic, right? And they can act like they're being authentic, but because the relationship is specifically parasocial and you don't know them, it's more than likely they're not even being authentic. And also, when you idolize someone, you will give them more room to make mistakes, right? And it can create an echo chamber for misinformation and just opinions that shouldn't be technically valued, you know? I'm not gonna 100% put the blame on us as viewers, right? That we believed how Anna Paula was portraying herself to be on the internet, right? We perceived her that way because that's how she acted. However, I think that we shouldn't even be idolizing these influencers in the first place. Even those influencers who you think will do good to others, who donate and such, yeah, donations are great, but people can donate to organizations that they don't even believe in just to get the like, just to get the follow, you know? That is what I'm saying. You don't know these people, right? It is different for everyone involved in the Paul situation because they have lived with the Pauls. They have, have had actual relationships with the Pauls. They've seen them, they've talked with them, they've been with them every day. We are the viewer. We only see what they want us to see. You gave her the platform, right? And now you can't even really take it back because we keep going down this road of excusing problematic behavior and idolizing these people. We are going to perpetrate a toxic culture, right? A toxic society. And honestly, it's already kind of gotten to that point. My best advice is, again, not to idolize these people. Strictly view them as what they're there for. Entertainment. Don't look at them as an idol, as a teacher. They're just there to entertain you. And that is it. When they do something that's messed up, don't even be surprised because you didn't fully know them anyway to begin with. So thank you guys for listening to this week's ramble. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on idolizing influencers are. Do you guys think it's fine? Do you guys think it's okay to idolize people you look up to? Or do you agree with me that we should definitely not idolize these people who are using us to pay their bills? Genuinely, I want to know your opinion. And that is all for this week's video. Okay, love you. Bye. Mwah.